One more time before training camp begins, we're gonna have an episode of this show. Welcome everybody. Happy Friday to the Southside Beat. My name is Chris Halicke. Joining me is Greg Macafee. We are going to talk some Steelers today, and it's like I know we're still about 12 days away from the start of training camp, or at least whenever players report to training camp, but we're going to be taking a little bit of a break. I don't know if you guys know this, but I've got an MLB All-Star game to cover. And by the way, the pitcher for the Pirates is now starting the game. And then I've also got to make a 1,200-mile move to get to the Berg. So, but just, first off, happy Friday. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing good. Just, another day getting prepared for that first day of training camp, doing all that stuff, and obviously getting ready for the MLB draft. And you got the All-Star game, I got the draft. The Pirates are on a roll. Paul Skeens yesterday was crazy. So it's a Friday. It's a Friday.
Enjoy the baseball, because it's like once the All-Star game is over and that All-Star break is over, like obviously, Pirates fans are going to be sticking with the team, and especially if they can somehow, make a couple moves and try to actually compete for a playoff spot. But I have a feeling that once July 24th rolls around, a lot of fans are going to be right back to go Steelers. It's going to be right back to football, because just football's king. So. But here for this last show before we actually begin training camp coverage here, we just want to, if you have, we've been doing this quite a bit, especially here during the summer. I understand it's, your questions have pretty much ran out by now, but if you have any other football questions, Steelers questions, training camp questions, doesn't necessarily have to be on the field stuff, could be anything about off the field, could be anything about training camp experience or whatever it is. Bring your questions. Let's do a Football Friday Q&A. It's fun. Rick is talking about the baseball stuff here. Rick says Skeens hasn't been watching games for the first time since '94. Do I hold grudges? Well, not forever. That is a pretty long gap, though, without watching baseball, especially since the Pirates at least were a good team for 3 years. Not that well. Shoot, man. 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I remember being down there in the North Shore for that. It was like an experience, like an atmosphere I've never experienced, like at the Pirates at PNC Park. It was awesome. So I hope at some point that comes back, because it was awesome to experience.
Joshua Dobbs is saying for a 2025 mock draft, man, I can tell you what, I have been focusing on a lot of things right now.
That is not one of them.
That is not one of them. I have so many things that I am tackling right now, getting ready for, training camp, getting ready to cover this All-Star, week. That begins even tomorrow with the Futures game. But I know you're kidding, Josh, but but then we're like not even talking about, selling this house in Texas, buying a house up in Pittsburgh, and it's just, it's funny. But and then William asked, like, did you sell your house yet? I was like, yeah, I mean, we close on it on the 22nd. That's the official date, and I think the only thing we're waiting to hear back on is just like one other thing when it comes to your typical steps toward closing. There's like one more step to go.
Now, when you sell your house and you move out, are you gonna leave a memento behind for the people that buy it? Are you gonna leave anything?
No, I don't think so. I think no, I don't think so. If we do, it's going to be on accident, which would not surprise me at all. Either me and my son, unfortunately, inherited it from me. We typically just leave stuff wherever we go. I don't know why, but yeah, if we do, it'll be on accident, not on purpose.
There you go.
Brian asked a good question here. Will Peyton Wilson have a big role? I'll kick that to you. I have my own thoughts on that too, but
I mean, I think we've talked about it a couple times. I mean, obviously, Mike Tomlin doesn't really have a history of, you know, letting rookies on the field, you know, and everything like that. I mean, obviously, I think there are some different circumstances kind of over the years.
Yeah.
Me personally, I would love to see him have a huge role this year. I mean, he's a freak athlete. We talked about him kind of being the steal of the draft so far and everything like that. I think if he gets on the field, I think he could play a pretty big role in this defense this year.
Yeah, I think somebody else said it here in the comments. Maybe by the end of the year or before the season's over. But to start off, I don't see him having a huge role early, just because unless he just completely blows everybody away during training camp in the preseason, or if Cole Holcomb has some sort of setback or he's just not ready. And then maybe he could be the third linebacker. But I still envision, as of now, the starting two inside linebackers being Patrick Queen and Landon Roberts.
Yeah.
And then Cole Holcomb, if he's healthy, also having a role there too. So I do think he'll be eased into it. But could he, like, before the season's over? Of course. Like the sky's the limit for that kid, man. He's got all kinds of ability, and he's just got a really high ceiling. Let's see, there was another one right here. Shoot, this is why I need to actually use the thing where you can star the comments. Oh, here we go. Andrew asks, who starts slot corner in week 1? Now, I put like 3 quick thoughts in the feed, and 2 of them I would not anticipate being actual starters come week 1. Just because, to your point that you mentioned with Peyton Wilson, Mike Tomlin doesn't just hand rookies jobs. But 2 of the guys that I mentioned were Beanie Bishop, undrafted free agent out of West Virginia, and then Ryan Watts, the defensive back out of Texas. It was the 2nd, 6th round pick. But 2 of those guys are just they're really interesting because both of them can fill that role to me in a couple of different ways. I like their skill sets for that spot. But if I had to guess, if you make me guess, I would just say Mr. Outside Hire, whoever that is, whether that's bringing Patrick Peterson back, whether that's re-signing Shannon Sullivan, whether that's whatever other free agents out there. If I had to guess who it would be that, or it would be a lot of the 3 safety package in which you'd see Deshaun Elliott in that slot corner role, but really just being the big nickel. And then having DeMonte Casey and Minka, playing back and letting Minka play center field. That would be my guess. Would you also kind of say the same thing that it's like it would be Mr. Outside Hire?
Yeah, I would. I don't think the slot corner for week 1 is on the roster right now. I think they bring in someone from the outside, and then like you said, I like the 3 safety package as well. I think it gets your best athletes on the field and everything like that. So I would go that route as well. Yeah.
That's Bian asks, leave a couple Iron City beers in the fridge. If I would, but man, you can't find Iron City down here. Like I have never seen it anywhere. I'll put it that way. I've gone to like some pubs where they have walls just lined with beer, like all kinds of beer. And, I've never seen Iron City beer down here or Icy Light or anything like that. So, you got Yingling down here. I could put a couple Yinglings in the fridge.
That's surprising.
But no, but Yingling started going everywhere not too long ago.
Okay.
But also another thing, he says to leave Iron City beers in the fridge. Here's another thing about Texas. A lot of the houses here, you leave certain appliances like the stove, washer, dryer, fridge. That's a common thing there, like in the Pittsburgh area. Could be, elsewhere as well. I don't know. Like, for example, the house we're buying, we're getting the fridge and the washer and dryer that's in there. That's not a thing here. Like, typically it can be negotiated, but it's not like the default. So we're actually bringing our fridge with us. So we're going to end up with 2 fridges. So
there you go.
Yeah. Brad says, I live in Garland. No Icy Light. Yeah. I've never seen it down here. I've never seen it. Randy, appreciate the shout out. Said the Southside beat is top tier. Appreciate that. Just a reminder, hit the like. Yeah, hit that like button. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Share it with all your friends. I like this comparison here. Brian says Ryan Watts could be a Cam Chancellor type, very physical. I agree with that. I really like Ryan Watts' tape a lot. The press coverage has me scared, and pretty much why I don't think he can play outside corner at the NFL level. But a lot of the other stuff that I've seen on tape with him, I really, really like a lot. I think that could be a heck of a pick in the 6th round. Okay, let's see here. Mark says, "Nice hat, G." Well, it seems like you have a good collection of golf hats.
Man, when I worked at Lids when I was in college, and I was obsessed with like new era MLB hats, like the authentics that you could wear. And they're just too expensive now.
They are.
So I just find kind of golf hats all over the place. If something fits my head, it works out. So I got a pretty good collection. My goal is to wear a different one every day. So we'll see.
I was about to say, you'd already worn like a couple of different Nike golf hats. You got a Puma one today. And the only golfer I think of is what's his face? Who wears the Puma hat all the time.
Ricky?
Good picture.
Yes. Ricky Fowler?
Yeah. Ricky
He's
Fowler.
My guy.
There you go.
He's my guy.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. So like that's like your go-to, like whenever you're like watching golf or whatever, like that's the guy who you're cheering for.
My whole family is like golfers. Like I played baseball growing up, but my entire family is golfers. So I kind of watch everyone now, since I didn't have the patience for it when I was a kid, and now I do. So I like to play, I like to watch. I'll kind of watch whoever, but like when I was getting into it, Ricky was my guy, but he's kind of fallen off a little bit.
Yeah, he's kind of watching what Scotty Scheffler's doing.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Now it's just so impressive. But I can't help but find myself rooting for Tiger in just about every single tournament. Even now, like I know I know he probably doesn't stand a chance in just about it, but I don't think a lot of people necessarily thought that he could win the Masters the last time he did just a few years ago, and it was so awesome to watch him be able to win that green jacket again. Robert asked a good question. Where's the Southside beat hats?
That is a good question.
Listen, there have been some people here in the chat, here on this channel, who have been clamoring for Southside beat hats since, man, I would say about 200 episodes ago. It's been a while. Man, I'll tell you what, if we can, once I'm back up in Pittsburgh and I have I'm literally knocking elbows with DK or Dolly downtown, I can try to nudge them in the right direction a little bit, maybe, but we'll see. That I would still call as TBD. But one of the best things that you can do, Robert and everybody else, is like, subscribe, share the show, share the crap out of the show, get this show, get more people talking about it. And man, like we would have to, at that point, we'd have to acquiesce and start making hats. Let's see, there was a couple of other ones. We'll go through here. Brad, I have not heard this, but I've also been very, very busy today. Brad saying hearing CeeDee Lamb is being traded to the Panthers. I have not heard that yet.
I just know that there's a lot of contract talk still going on there, and he wasn't commenting on anything or doing anything like that. So that's news to me.
Okay. All right. Well, I wanted to make sure I hadn't. Now I have all of the main national reporters, like Rappaport and Tom Pelissaro and all those guys. I have Twitter notifications on. So usually, if a trade like that is happening, my watch is going to be going berserk, because I've got notifications going from Twitter being like, all right, who got, like, pretty much anytime Adam Schefter tweets, which has really sucked recently, because if you have notifications on for Adam Schefter, he's been tweeting a lot about like NBA free agency and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes he'll tweet something and he'll be like, trade. And you're like, oh crap, I got to open my phone. Like, who got traded? And then it's just like an NBA trade. I'm like, come on, man, you got to stop doing this.
Yeah. I think he likes to troll Woj a little bit.
Yeah. Let's see here. Lawrence, what Brian asked, Lawrence Guy, possible defensive line depth, very concerned after Cam and Benton. I think what the Steelers are, yes, you could use another guy for sure, but I think the main thing there is that first off, I think they're expecting Cam to be Cam. Like I understand like the trepidation from some fans being like, well, he wasn't healthy at all last year. He's not getting any younger. I get that. But I think they're expecting Cam to be Cam. And then if Cam can play at that level, that's going to help. I think they're expecting a big leap from Keanu Benton. I don't think that's a far-fetched idea either. Mike Tomlin typically expects a lot out of his second-year players. Larry Ogunjobi, if he's your third, like if Keanu Benton like really takes that leap and he can become like the main second guy, then Larry Ogunjobi is a really solid third in my opinion. And then after that, you got Dean Lowry. That was I thought a solid veteran pickup, kind of replaces the Armon Watts that they had last year. And then I'm really curious to see what Montravius Adams does too, because he looked really good before he got that injury last year. I really liked the way his game was trending before he had that injury midseason. So I'm curious to see how that looks. I get the concern on defensive line, and even when I did my defensive line preview, I kind of said that like the defensive line, like those interior defenders they kind of hold the key to really having this defense be truly dominant, right? And so I get that. Do you have similar feelings, or do you feel a little more confident in the defensive line?
I mean, I think it's still an area that needs a little bit of depth, maybe another player or two. But I mean, I think they should be all right, I guess, through the early goings if Cam, is Cam and everything like that, especially with the revamped linebacking core and with the addition of Patrick Queen and all that. But yeah, I mean, you always can use a little bit of depth. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah. Alex here says there was a report from a writer about CD being traded, but it was debunked / misleading. If you see something on Twitter, make sure you know where you're getting it from. If there are a few different accounts, I'd say a few. There are several accounts that share anything that they possibly can for attention. And there's even some people that pose as NFL insiders that don't know a damn thing.
I've almost got at I can't remember what the username was, but I've almost got fake Schefter a million times.
the fake Schefters and the fake Rappaports and stuff like that, that's one thing, but I'm talking about guys who like they pay for their blue check, so they get the blue check mark, and that automatically, because of the way Twitter was for so long, that gets some people automatically thinking, okay, well, they're a verified source.
Yeah.
And thank you, Elon, by the way, for that. And then they'll just put like NFL Insider or whatever in their bio, and they'll just start tweeting whatever, saying like multiple sources are telling me this, and nothing is ever based in fact, and even sourcing to itself, not to get too much into the journalism, rabbit hole, but even sourcing is not as simple as, hey, somebody, whoever it was, somebody told me something. There's a lot that goes into that. Who's the source? Can you verify that with a more reliable source? There are a number of different things. And so you could have, I could have somebody tell me, I think CeeDee Lamb's going to get traded, and be like, okay, I could put that. Anybody could put that, but who told you? Who's your source? And also, what's the motive for that person telling you something? Because even if it does come from somebody who could be considered a reliable source, what might their motive be for telling you? Are they trying to leak information? Are they just trying to? I've even heard of things going to the point of even being like, we want to tell somebody something just so that they can report it, just to see how the player can react to it.
Yeah.
Like there's just so many different levels to this kind of stuff. And that's why it's so important to trust the right journalists when it comes to this stuff, because it's not just as simple as this person told me this, so I can now report it.
Yeah. You always got to be careful.
Yes, it is. Crispy71 asks, what's the thoughts on Dean Lowry? What about for you, Greg? What do you think?
I'm going to leave this up to you.
Dean Lowry. Obviously not I'm not overly familiar with him, but obviously whenever they signed him, I did some digging, did some looking, obviously looked at the numbers, looked at a little bit of the film. The number one thing that I get from Dean Lowry is that he's mainly a run stopper. That should help. The Steelers were not great against the run last year. They weren't terrible like they were a couple of years ago when they were like dead last in the NFL. But anything that they could do to help with that does, especially if it's somebody who doesn't have to be, and this is nothing against Breeden Fehoko. I think he's a great dude, and I think he serves a great role, but there's not a big need for guys who are pretty much only fit the nose tackle role anymore, just with the state of the NFL. And so when you have a guy who can play multiple techniques, who's a good run stuffer, that's good to have. And I think Dean Lowry, for what he's not being signed to be like this, he's the third option or anything like that. Like, no, he's behind Cam Hayward, Ogunjobi, and Keanu Benton at the very minimum. I would put him fourth on the depth chart right now. So I think it's a good option to have in terms of stopping the run. I wouldn't expect too much in terms of rushing the passer. Can help push the pocket a bit, but in terms of actually getting to the quarterback or bringing him to the ground, I wouldn't expect too much there. But in terms of stopping the run, he can help. I think he can. Brian asked another good question here. Do you think Marcus Golden resigns? He played very well whenever TJ was hurt. I think he's a solid player. Like, I think it would behoove the Steelers, whether it's Marcus Golden or somebody else, but since Golden's still there, that they get a veteran edge rusher, at least for training camp. Yeah. Just to make sure, not just after one season, be like, all right, Nick Herbig, you're the guy. You're the third guy you're going to be the first guy that takes the field whenever either TJ or Alex need a breather. Right? Do you think that's probably a good way to go too?
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. Yeah.
William, whenever I was talking about the journalism stuff, it's just this clickbait. A lot of it is, but see, the way Twitter works nowadays is that if they get those check marks, they can actually get they can make money. Like those things can be monetized and stuff like that. So it's just it's crazy. With it's one of the main reasons why that app has just gone to. Oh yeah, gone to crap. And there are stronger words that I want to use, but
that's why you go to the team feeds on DKPittsburghSports.com.
Cody even says, and that's a very, very correct. 100%, Greg. Cody says check the followers, but even then, a lot of those accounts end up getting a lot of followers because you have a lot of just. I'm not trying to sound mean here, but there are just a lot of sheep that just they see something and think that it's automatically fact. And that's bad. Jay Mood's just like, nice plug. There we go. Yeah. That's why you check what we're, and like, sometimes it's like, well, the summer, there's not, too many, like, yeah, but don't try to force information when it's not there. Right. There's not a lot going on right now. So our Steelers feed is going to be hopping come training camp. Right now we're putting things in there, anything that we see. Hey, we saw Russell Wilson and Najee Harris working out yesterday. Saw Justin Fields and George Pickens working out together yesterday. Like those are things that we're going to put in there right now. Hey, these guys are getting a head start. But I'm not going to put, any little tiny rumor in the feed, especially if it might not be rooted in any truth. Because good Lord, like I don't want to get people's hopes up.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, Rick makes a good point here about the Twitter. We're pretty much the part of the show is just going to be look out for the bad accounts on Twitter. But Rick says they also buy a lot of fake followers to look legit. That's true too. It's crazy. Yeah. Brian asks here, do you think the Steelers are good with the outside corners behind Porter and Jackson, or do they sign another vet? I think they also sign another vet. I don't think that they're necessarily ruling that out, but I do think that there is a part of Mike Tomlin and the rest of the coaching staff, especially Grady Brown, secondary coach, that they want to see Corey Trice, Darius Rush, what these other guys can do. They're young, they're intriguing, they're talented. It's just how can they put it together where they can be legitimate options? But again, it would not surprise me if we get those first few days of training camp where we get I won't say a slew of signings or anything like that, but a few signings here and there. Oh, hey, Marcus Golden just signed, or hey, they're bringing in a slot corner, or hey, they're bringing in an outside corner. Guys who they can help bring in to compete, and I think that's just part of the training camp. That's just part of training camp. You just bring in bodies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just bringing guys to compete and kind of push each other to, because competition is always good, especially at that time of the year.
Joshua Dobbs says, so who do you pick up, Pat P, Gilmore, or Howard? For me, like Jordan says, like Pat P's done, unless he actually officially announces retirement or anything like that. And I don't think that's the case. I haven't seen anything like that, but I would think Patrick Peterson would be, he knows the system. He definitely played better whenever he was playing inside. And so I think that could be, I think that's probably the most likely option of those three that you named. But that's just how I feel about it. What about you, Greg?
Yeah, I think Pappy still. I think of those three, I think he would be the best to bring in just because he knows the system. I've never been a huge fan of Stephen Gilmore. But of those three, I think Pat P, just because of his familiarity with the system and everything like that, I think he would be the best option.
Cody says like Simmons is still out there, like the safety from the Broncos. Like I'm surprised he is still a free agent.
Yeah, I am as well. Like I thought, before I took this job, I had, obviously I was looking into the Bills and everything like that, and I thought he was going to go to Buffalo because of Jordan Poyer leaving and Micah Hyde possibly retiring. I thought that was a perfect fit for him, but that's another option as well. But I would assume, like Joshua says, he wants money. he wants to get paid.
Yeah, no, I totally, I see that. It's just, I just, typically you don't see too many. Hold on. William just got me, man. William got me. William said they can always put Fields at corner. Well, might as well, because it seems like Justin Fields is being put as a kick returner or a running back or a receiver, pretty much everywhere else other than quarterback.
Just put him all over the field.
Yeah, just put him at cornerback. Maybe he can get it done there too. Cody says they got the money in terms of Simmons. Like, yes, they do. They like, and Joshua says he wants $8 million. I haven't seen that or anything, but even if that is even if that is the number, it's like, listen, hey, I don't think right now, when you look at like the 15 million in cap space, there are a number of different things that they can do with it. And I think shoot, man, they're kind of set at safety now. Like you got Minka, Deshaun Elliott, and DeMonte Casey, like, and even like Ryan Watts possibly as like a fourth safety. Like, I don't think they really need one. I would think, like, if you're going to spend that money on anything, it's going to be, putting it toward a contract extension or rolling it over so you can pay a quarterback, or maybe they do pull off a trade for a receiver, something like that. Like, I
agree.
Yeah, I don't know if I would like Simmons again. Like he's a very intriguing player, and I think early in free agency there were a lot of Steelers fans that wanted the Steelers to get him, and for good reason. But now that they kind of went the route of Deshaun Elliott and drafted Ryan Watts in the sixth round, like I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if that's something I would do.
Yeah. I think I would prefer to use the money where they need it. We've talked about DB, we've talked about defensive line, we talked about wide receiver, and then obviously extending a player or two. But yeah, I don't think that's necessarily where they need to go with it.
Let's see here real quick. Brian asks, what would it take for Russ to get an extension? I don't know, man. Here, you take this one to start off, because I still go back and forth with a lot of different things when it comes to this.
I think it depends a lot on what he's looking for, financially.
Mhm.
If he wants another big contract before the end of his career, I don't know if Pittsburgh is the place for him, no matter how well he performs this year, just because of, you know, I, you know, I am not for paying players at the end of the year when they've shown trends, when they've been trending downward at times. So unless he has, a ginormous season or something, I don't know. It would have to take like an all pro, like return to Russ at the, Super Bowl Russ to give him an
Yeah.
extension.
I think for me, I don't know if it quite has to be like on an all pro level, but I think if one thing that Cody brings up here, win a playoff game.
Hmm.
Now, Cody says win a playoff game, 100% extension. I still don't know if I would say 100% because I can't get over the fact that what happens with Justin Fields at that point. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Because I'm not saying that they have to be married to these two guys. And as a matter of fact, I think that they just brought those two guys in because they wanted to have options.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson obviously is when Denver cuts him and they can get him for literally the cheapest contract they possibly can, then why not? Why not do that and add a veteran who is coming off a season in which his numbers were pretty solid. Not great, but solid numbers. Again, you're not going to argue with 26 touchdowns and 8 picks, especially when the quarterback room for the Steelers the past 2 seasons has combined for 25 touchdowns. They haven't even. It's just crazy the lack of production at quarterback, and so I don't. I would say probably. I would say at least a Pro Bowl type season. And the Pro Bowl is I mean, Tyler Huntley made it to the Pro Bowl, but
Yeah.
I'm talking like the numbers, like you know it when you see it, an actual Pro Bowl season.
Yeah, I feel like a Pro Bowl is like a hard like measuring stick now.
It
If
is.
if that makes
It
sense.
is. But I think like if you're you're talking like for a guy like Russ on a team that's going to be a run first team, if he can throw for maybe 3,400 yards, a similar touchdown to interception ratio that he did last year. Have a passer rating, in the 90s, whatever it is. And then it can also, add a few hundred yards on the ground. Then to me, that's, okay. Like you could possibly sign him to an extension, but there are just so many different options that they can there are just so many options there for the taking. Justin Fields possibly, and even somebody here asks, Chris asks, do you think signing Dak next year is possible? I don't think so. I not unless the Steelers are just completely sold out on the fact that like we're willing to spend top dollar on a quarterback. But I think if they were there, they could have done that with Kirk Cousins this past free agency. So I would say no. What say you?
I'm not a big Dak guy, so I wouldn't bring him in. That's just me
I've
though.
I have said though that the main reason that I want Dak to be a quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers is because of that cadence that he has before snapping the ball.
Mhm.
Here we go, like that. Here we go. That he does. I'm like he literally says the Steelers like catchphrase in his cadence at the snap at the line of scrimmage. Like it seems like a match made in heaven, but. Yeah, no.
Yeah. I'm not about it. I'm not about it.
Yeah, and yeah, and Joshua here says that, yeah, like needless to say, there's gonna be a ton of conversation next offseason.
Yeah,
It's gonna be nauseating with quarterback talk. Shoot, this
100%.
past offseason was nauseating with quarterback talk. Because even whenever Russell Wilson was like that started and that it like once he was signed and aboard, it didn't take long. Oh, now Kenny is going to be traded. It's like, okay, like we thought that the quarterback situation was done. Now Kenny's going to be traded. What's going to happen there? And
Mhm.
then obviously they pull up the Justin Fields trade and finally it stops getting talked about. But even leading up to Russell getting signed, it was like man, the Steelers, I swear there was somebody in the media saying somewhere the Steelers are tied to this guy, or the Steelers are interested in that guy, or Kirk Cousins is monitoring the Steelers situation. It's like, I swear it's every quarterback, every single one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they got the two best guys they could have, I think. In yeah, I think it worked out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Oh, man, I got it. My phone's ringing. All right, here, let's see real quick. There's a Brian says 55 mil or 55 plus for Dak. Hell no. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
Oh, Randy's got a good question that's like not so much about actual football, but just about our coverage on DK Pittsburgh Sports. Chris and Greg, will you guys be traveling, covering any away games? How's that work for you? Well, first off, DK doesn't miss Steelers games.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to know his level of dedication to that, there's going to be a game this season in which both the Steelers and the Penguins play the Jets. Okay. And the Steelers are home playing the Jets, and the Penguins are on the road in Winnipeg playing the Winnipeg Jets. And I can tell you right now, DK does not want to miss a trip to Winnipeg. He never wants to miss a trip to Winnipeg. And he's not, like, the plan right now is for Taylor to go to Winnipeg to cover that. He does not miss Steelers games. So DK is at every one. I will also be at every game for sure. Greg also has Pitt football to cover as well, especially the Pitt football games. So there will be times in which Greg, it just schedules conflict. And there, so Greg won't be there for all 17, but he will be at as many as possible for sure.
Yeah, I think I had it marked up here. Let's see here. I wrote it down the other day. I was trying to work out my schedule and see what it was going to look like. I'll be at the Chargers game, maybe going to Indy, Jets, Giants, Ravens, at Browns, home against Browns, Philly, at Baltimore. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think early on it's a little tougher because of how Pitt's away and Steelers are home, and so it just makes it a little difficult.
Yeah, they do conflict at times. They never play on the same day, but there are just times where the travel and everything like that it's too much.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like three road games that I know for sure Greg won't be going to are the first two, like Atlanta and Denver, and then out to Vegas. Like those are just DK and I are both going to those. So and then William asked, is Greg doing Latrobe? Dude, we're doing Latrobe as much as we possibly can. Like, and when I say that, I mean, like, yes, we're going to be there every day, but I'm talking like, if it can be Greg and myself, like, there every single day, we will do that.
100%.
And also DK is going to be there too.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Lifted ones. We'll take one more question. He has a pretty good one here. If the Steelers stay healthy, the season will be. He has actually asked a question, but I'm going to pose this as a question. I'm going to pose this as a question. If the Steelers stay healthy, will this season be a success? Will it? What is your feeling with that?
I think so. I mean, if everyone stays healthy, if TJ stays healthy, Cam stays healthy, Minka. If everyone stays healthy, I think they have the defense should be top tier. Like, I think it could be one of the best in the NFL, if not the best. And I would agree with that. I think on the offensive side of things, they just have to. I think if they make a few tweaks and maybe add another receiver, I think they should be solid as well. So if everyone stays healthy, I think they have a pretty good recipe for success right now.
I would agree with that, and I've said on here that if you don't have a franchise quarterback, the best way to win or to be competitive for a Super Bowl is to have a great defense. Mm-hmm. That is just throughout the history of the game, it's been proven. And I would say that the Steelers' best chance is for their defense to be amazing.
Yeah,
and their defense can be. The defensive line does concern me a bit, but if Cam is Cam again and he's healthy. And even that alone, to me, is like, okay, you got Cam Hayward, who's like, we're not talking about injured Cam Hayward. We're talking about Cam Hayward here. Yeah. TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. You're talking about an inside linebacker room that now has Patrick Queen and Elandon Roberts and Cole Holcomb and Peyton Wilson. We're talking about, when he's playing his game, the best safety in football, and Minkah Fitzpatrick. We're talking about a budding shutdown corner in Joey Porter Jr., a better guy on the opposite side of him with Dante Jackson. Like, this defense looks really good to me.
Yeah.
And if they can run the football, if they really can run the football and win time of possession battles more often than not, this team could win 10, 11 games. Yeah. Like, I even with the schedule that they have. And it's a tough schedule. I'm not denying that whatsoever. It's a tough division. It's a tough conference, and their schedule is brutal. But the roster itself is good. I think the only thing that could really hurt it are either injuries, or if just for whatever reason, both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields were complete catastrophes.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work out with the quarterback situation. So really quick, just when it comes to there's a couple of other ones here that I want to get to. That's Be It asks, how many reporters do they let in locker rooms or conference rooms? Do you have a limited number of passes? So the team pretty much has an allotted number of reporters per outlet, and typically that number is 2, typically. And so we, every now and then you can get away with a third, but I think that number is typically 2. But that could be different this year. I don't know. That's something that the team's PR, and they do a really good job of communicating that with communicating that to us of how many. But it's typically 2 of us there anyway. Yeah, it'll either be me and Greg, or it'll be me and DK, or it'll be Greg and DK. But I'm going to be there most days, if not every single day. And no, you don't have a limited number of passes. It's pretty much just, we need to be there covering when it comes to practices and stuff like that. And so there's going to be at least one of us there every single day. Typically, if we have our way, we'll have 2 people there, but that's typically the sweet spot for most outlets anyway. And then when it comes to how many reporters they let in the locker room, it's pretty much everybody who's given a pass. If the team gives you a pass, then there you go. There was another question here. Oh, Crispy 71 going to run a pod from Latrobe. Like, are you guys going to run the pod? Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't see why we couldn't. We have to figure out a place to do it. The internet is one thing that we'd have to figure out. Mm-hmm. But other than that, like, yeah, we'll find ways to figure out ways to do the show. If it's something that we logistically can't do every single day, we'll do it as often as we possibly can. Because first off, the days on the week, those are weekend days actually now. So I'm thinking of like when practice normally was. Typically practice was just at 1:55 every single day. That would get in the way of showtime every day. But now during the week, the practices are in the morning. They're at 10:30 now. So I don't know. We'll see. I would say TBD on that, but we will do podcasts as often as we possibly can from Latrobe, so that we can obviously get you guys. Obviously, DK Pittsburgh Sports, our Steelers feed. That's the main place to get the information. Mm-hmm. But obviously, we want to bring the information to this show too. Somebody said like Corey had bad reception when did it. Yeah, well, also bad reception from the South Side. That's going to be something else we're going to have to battle. South Side reception it's not great. I don't know why, but the internet always sucks from there. James B says low res Chris and Greg from Latrobe. We will see.
We can figure something out.
Yeah, we'll get it figured out one way or the other. All right. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Just to remind everyone, no shows at all next week, and really probably no shows on the Monday and Tuesday afterward either, because that Monday, that's literally the day that I'm like my family and I are arriving in Pittsburgh, and then the next day is going to be me spending pretty much all day unpacking and unloading the truck and everything like that. And then the 24th is the first day of players reporting, and we'll do a podcast that day one way or the other. But so a little bit of a hiatus here, but really appreciate all your interaction here today. Just excited for training camp to finally get started.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's be it. Asks. So see you on the 24th. Yes, 100%. 24th is the day. We'll figure out because I need to know the times and everything like that the players are actually reporting and stuff. But we'll figure out something if we have to do a show later in the day. Maybe we could even get DK on the show that day. Maybe.
There you go. That's a possibility.
We'll
talk
see.
to him.
All righty. Well, thank you everybody so much for the show today. We'll, survive the next week and a half without the show, but I promise when we come back, man, I'm going to be in Latrobe. This is actually my last show from Texas. Now that I think about it, my last show. I'll pour one out for doing one from the Lone Star State, but
there you go.
Yeah, and Crispy Sunny was here, says good luck with the move. I appreciate it. Thank you. Still in the process of getting a lot of that stuff taken care of, like getting the truck scheduled and everything like that. So gonna be a lot of fun. All right, thank you everybody so much. We'll see you from Latrobe next time.
See you later, guys.